Hello everybody and welcome to video number 3. Men, if you are here, you do not have to watch this video. It is more for the women. It is an eyeshadow, blush, and lip look. Here are a couple of reference pictures that I decided on for what I'm going for today. Right now I have absolutely nothing on my eyelids at the moment. They are just completely bare, but we will be going for a purple eye look today. I'm very excited about it. In the first video, I did mention that I will be using a powder blush. It is Ben Nye. Some of the old kids still have them. I don't, but I did also mention in the video before this one that I wanted to add a little bit more blush. So here I am, just making my cheeks a little bit more pink and rosy to start off because, as I said, women from the 80s loved their blush and they didn't know when enough was enough, so we're just packing that on as much as possible. I will also go in with a little bit more of a pink tone later in the video from the eyeshadow palette, actually, that we are going to be using for today's eye look. And speaking of which, here is the palette that I will be using today. I will be using all of these pink and purple shades. The pink shades, not so much for the eye, but the purple shades for the eye, of course, and then this little eye pencil that came in the kit. And to start, I'm going to be covering my eyelid with some of that leftover highlight on that sponge that we used from the base video. As I said, you can use a primer. And even just using a little bit of your moisturizer on top of the eyelid works great, but I like to use a little bit of this highlighter because it is a cream base. It does make everything one-toned. I'm put it on both eyes here. And then I'm going to be using this little fluffy brush and the lightest tone shade in my palette, and I'm going to be putting this all over the eyelid. And when I say all over the eyelid, I mean like all the way, every single inch of my eyelid is being covered. And all the way up. I want to try to get this high up to my eyebrow. And then I'm just gently pressing it into the eye. This shade is what I like to call your base shade. So it's the lightest color that I will be using for this eyeshadow look today. And I'm just trying to make it really soft. It's so important that the shade is blended out really, really nicely. And we like putting on a base underneath the eyeshadow because it kind of helps with the blending. It makes the tones blend a little bit easier together, and it just makes general blending easier. And now that I'm happy with the amount of eyeshadow that I put on the top of the lid, I will be bringing that same color underneath the eye. So basically just all over the eye is covered with this light purple eyeshadow shade. And now pulling back out that palette, I will be going into this purpley magenta color. I'm going to be using the same brush that I was using to apply the soft transition shade. And I'm going to be putting this all over my eyelid as well, except I don't want to bring this color up too high. I want to focus it a little bit more in the area of the eye called the crease. So as you can see, I'm just pulling that shadow back and forth right in that divot of where my eye sits, making sure that blend is nice and soft, making sure the color is nice and packed on there, and then pulling it just onto my eyelid a little bit, but it's really important that this color is focused on the crease of the eye. And then I'm just going in a little bit more with that initial base shade just to make sure these two colors are blended nicely together and so they sit seamlessly and soft on the eye, but still holding a lot of that color in there. After packing on that shade, I will be going into the darkest color of the palette here, and I'm putting this right in the middle of my eye. This is more focused towards the lash line. It is the darkest shade that we have used this far, and I'm gently patting it on top. It's okay to make little swirly motions around to have them blend a little bit, but the main focus is to pack this color right on top of that eyelid there and blend it a little bit into the secondary shade that we put on our eye. And now that all of those three shades are packed on, I'm going to be taking a clean brush and just really going over those edges of where the eyeshadow is sitting, trying to make this as soft and as seamless as possible. And you can see that I have a little bit of a gradient, so the lightest, the medium, and the darkest shade all together there on the eyelid. And now that that's all pretty and beautifully blended, I'm going to be going back to the first brush that I used with that base shade and just bringing a little bit more shadow underneath the lash line here. I want to blend them nice and soft, and I'm going to be dipping into the medium and dark shade that I put on the central part of my eye. Whatever residue was left on that brush, just underneath the eye as well, just so that it's coherent on the top and on the bottom. We want to concentrate that bright color, make your eye look nice and round, and this is where I am sitting about now. I wanted a little bit more depth to this eye look color, so I'm adding a little bit of that blue in there and keeping it focused more on the central part of my eye, just because I was looking back at that Whitney Houston look. That's more what this eyeshadow is based off of today, and she had it a little bit darker, so I just wanted to go back over with a little bit of that electric blue tone and just kind of give this look a little bit more depth. And moving on to the next part of this video, I'm going to be taking this eye pencil and I'm going to be putting it right on the top part of my lash line, my waterline, and my bottom lash line. I'm using this little powder puff to kind of help pull my eye to the side, just so that I can kind of cover every area of my lash line here. And I know that this pencil has picked up a little bit of that eyeshadow. It's not a huge deal. I will be going back over with some of the darker tones of the eyeshadow just to make sure that the brown kind of blends in with the eye look. And then I'm putting, as I mentioned before, this pencil on the lash line and waterline of my eye to make my eye look nice and big and round and pop. And as previously mentioned before, because of that brown lifting up a little bit of the eyeshadow that was sitting underneath, I'm just taking these two darker shades and just lightly going over top of that brown eyeliner to make it look a little bit more purple and to make it blend in just a little bit better to the actual eye look. And after packing on that color, I'm left with a little bit of fallout, so I'm taking a clean brush and just gently, super gently brushing that away from the eye up towards the face, and then I'm just hitting that brush on my hand to get whatever powder I just brushed away off of it. And then I did mention before that I wanted to use some of these pink tones here in the palette just to make this blush blend a little bit more nicely in with the eye look. I thought my cheek color was a little bit too orange for the style of look that I was going for today, and the tones just didn't quite match up. So I decided to go back in, as I said before, with a little bit of that pink eyeshadow just to make it a little more intense, because why not? Now, I did go off camera and do my other eye as well, and I am just going to curl my eyelashes really fast. You don't have to curl your eyelashes. I want to make this eye look a little bit more bright and lifted, which is why I am curling my eyelashes, but that is optional. You do not have to do that if you do not have access to a eyelash curler. As I said, I just wanted to give my eyes a little bit more of a upward lift for this style of look. And now that my eyelashes are curled, I'm going in with my favorite mascara, and I'm just going to be applying this to both the tops and bottoms of my eyelashes. And now that I've done that, I'm just going to go over and do the other eye, and I will be right back. Alrighty, now that I've done both eyes, I'm going to just fill in my eyebrows. We want to go for a little bit of a thicker, bushier, more fluffy eyebrow look, since the women of the 80s, from what I've seen, they all just seem to have very bushy, thick eyebrows. And so that's just one of the things that I am going for in this look today. And this is me popping back in with both of my eyebrows done now, and we're going to be moving on to the lips. So this is the red lipstick that I mentioned in the first video and the angled brush that comes in your Ben Nye kit. I'm going to start with lining my Cupid's bow and my lips. And as I line this, I'm just kind of filling in each area as I go. You don't have to do this. You can just put on your lipstick how you would regularly. This gives it a little bit more of precision and a little bit more of a crisp, clean look, which is how I typically like it and how I typically do other people's makeup. But as I said, you can kind of just judge how you like to do your own lipstick, and then I'm just kind of going over it with the applicator just to make it nice and bright and pop. And then after using that applicator, I'm just smushing my lips together to make it nice and consistent. But this is the end of the look. I will see you guys all together for the last and final video.